Justin Verlander is a Houston Astro again. Bob Nightingale, 2 minutes ago, just after we went to break, tweeted out, Justin Verlander and the Astros won 2 World Series titles together. Now they're back together, vying for a third title. One of the greatest, I call him the greatest, Houston Astros starting pitcher is back. He is a Houston Astro. JV is here again as a member of the Houston Astros.
It's a big move. It's at the right time. It's a massive deal for this city, fans of this baseball team. You know I'm always going to ask you, Jeremy, at what price. That's the one thing I am concerned with. I'm curious what they did have to give up. I'm curious if you're right on the right path in terms of if there were other teams, if that was able to boost the price for what the Mets got in return, or if it was just the Astros. The Astros were able to play chicken and say, we're not giving up Drew Gilbert. We're not giving up one of our 2 top prospects, but we would be willing to do this or that. I am curious about that, but I am very relieved and happy that you're getting a guy that you know who he is. He knows the city, and please miss me for the time being on all the playoff pointing of the finger about what he has and hasn't done.
It's been good in the playoffs.
But just realize that for the rest of the regular season, with what you're still figuring out and how you're getting guys back and the question marks you have about a starting rotation, you just got a bulldog at the front of your rotation again.
We've not seen the return yet. We'll get to you the return as quickly as we figure it out. But the immediate is that you're adding to a rotation now, Blankers. The Astros have flirted with the idea of a 6-man rotation, but no more Brandon Belag, no more Ronel Blanco.
Right.
You're looking at a rotation now of Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, Justin Verlander, Hunter Brown, J.P. France, and Jose Urquidy. There's your 6-man rotation. That is going to be the Astros 6-man rotation for the rest of the regular season to try to give Javier a lightened workload. Same thing with Framber. You don't want Verlander at the age of 40 pitching every 5th day. Hunter Brown, J.P. France are rookies. You don't want them pitching a ton. Jose Urquidy's coming off the shoulder injury. You don't want him pitching a ton. The Astros have a formidable 6-man rotation again, and they had the rotation, minus Lance McCullers, that won them the World Series last year.
This is at the right time. As much as people said whether they got Verlander or not, they would have won it again. They would have won it in 17. As much as you talk about all the other things with Astros moves when they were made and the timing of it, this is such a huge, important move for this team because it was such a glaring weakness for this team because of all the question marks, because we didn't know. We knew that you had 2 pitchers out for the year. You don't know what you're going to get back in the kind of Urquidy that you get back. You know that the 2 guys that you were going to lean on all year long have been a little shaky lately. And yes, there are signs that they're going to get it back in the case of Javier and Framber, but you still don't know what you don't know. This is a guy putting right back in, put right to the top of your rotation, right with those 2 guys, as a guy that can push for you, that can do everything you need him to do in the middle of a huge race to win the division and avoid a lot of the minutia of the playoffs. Fantastic, big, monumental move for this team when they needed it most. And they don't have to be done. You could still try and add a bat, or if Dana still wants to add to the bullpen, he can still try and do other things. But this wasn't a last-minute deal either, but this is the deal this team needed this year.
Nightingale says the Astros are sending 2 minor league players to the Mets in return for Justin Verlander. I've not seen the name. So the Astros aren't taking away from the big league team here to trade for Justin Verlander. So we do have that revealed. Still have not seen who the return is. I'd be shocked if it's not Drew Gilbert. If I'm being completely honest with you, I'd be shocked if it's not Drew Gilbert because of what the Mets got for Max Scherzer, who has been a lesser pitcher than Justin Verlander this year. And Drew Gilbert isn't as good a prospect as Acuna, who they got back from the Rangers. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what the return is. Here's some good news on Justin Verlander, though. And how we feel in Houston, 713-780-3776. Justin Verlander, who has won 2 Cy Youngs with the Astros, has been a formidable piece of the rotation for 2 World Series teams. How you feeling with Justin Verlander returning back to Houston? Verlander with the Mets this season, Blankers, you look at the overall numbers for JV, 6-5, 3.15 ERA. Like win-loss record, whatever. 3.15 ERA is really, really good. Mm-hmm. Also, if you break it down to his last 7 starts, Verlander in his last 7 starts has a sub-150 ERA.
He got off to a rough start after he sat out. He had a really horrendous outing in Colorado.
He had 2 bad outings this year, with 3, maybe 4. But Colorado was one of them.
Yeah, and those will mess with, obviously, your ERA. He didn't have the greatest team and with the greatest kind of overall support in terms of the way that team played all year long with the Mets. He has got to be pumped up to come back here because he knows he's got everything he needs to compete for another World Series title. He knows the manager. He knows the locker room. He knows the city. He and his wife were happy here when they knew they weren't going to be hounded all the time and paparazzi wasn't chasing him around. And now he fits right into a team that this time really needs him, maybe more so than the last time. This team now, in terms of telling him not to throw out the first pitch in a playoff game when he was coming back from Tommy John, this is a chance now for them again to have a marriage made in heaven where he comes back at the exact right time for a team that could desperately need him at the top of their rotation, and they take it and they push all the way through the play.
That's the other thing is that, I mean, we already knew this was going to be the case, but Verlander officially waives his no-trade clause to be a Houston Astro for the second time. He did it with Detroit, does it now as a New York Met. He loves it in Houston. 713-780-3776. Before we get to Ryan on the HRP listener line in Houston, how you feeling? JV's back in the fold. Trade deadline again. Justin Verlander is traded for the Houston Astros. Verlander, 7 starts, 42 innings, Blankers, 37 Ks. So, look, strikeouts aren't like a strikeout per inning, but that's not too far off of them. 37 strikeouts in 42 innings, has walked 18. Opponent's hitting 178 in his last 7 starts and has an ERA of 149 in his last 7 starts. Justin Verlander's been pitching to a last year form in his last 7 starts. 713-780-3776.
You know what I'll say, guys, too? I feel more and more like from the time we read the report that it was done, I just felt like I felt at the start of the show, this was a Jim Crane move. I know Dana Brown made the move and executed the pieces. I just feel like this was Jim Crane saying, we go get this guy. We got to have him back on this roster. This is who we need.
I'm fascinated by what the Astros traded and then, like, the salary part of it, too. So, I mean, we're going to be all over this for the next 65 minutes. What were you about to say, Joe?
Yeah, look, so Justin Verlander likely will start his first game this weekend. He'll be back in time to go to the White House on Monday. And frankly,
Yankee Stadium too, right?
Yeah, he'll pitch in Yankee Stadium this weekend.
Maybe he doesn't
likely
even come to Houston. Maybe he meets the team in New York.
People are saying that he might just meet him in New York.
That's hilarious.
He'll probably pitch versus the Yankees. He'll be with the Astros when they go to the White House to celebrate the championship. And here's the thing too: they got the better pitcher of the 2 Mets guys versus the Rangers. He's way better than Max Scherzer. He has been consistently this year. Like, this is a win-win in every possible way. But this is taking way too long for these prospects to come out, guys.
We're going to find out hopefully soon. 713-780-3776. Out to the HRP listener line. Ryan, you're in the Hive with the Killer Bees. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, fellas? Man, I think it's a win. I was watching him pitch, I think maybe last week, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice for him to be back in the Astros uniform. Plus, I think this takes, like, the mind games and the head stuff off of Fromber, because you have that top guy back, and maybe, you know, that being the number one is kind of getting to Fromber a little bit. I'm interested to see what's going to happen, man. I'm super excited. I'm pumped. Let's go.
Appreciate the call, Ryan. And the return is out there now. At least one of the pieces of the return is out there now. Mark Feinsand covers baseball for people who want baseball to be covered. The Mets will receive outfielder Drew Gilbert from the Astros in the deal for Verlander, plus at least one other prospect. It's not known how much money the Mets will send to Houston, so the details are starting to come out. Drew Gilbert, though, is headed to the Mets for Justin Verlander. Gilbert, prospect or more, going to New York. Justin Verlander coming to Houston. Now that we know at least one name that's leaving the Astros organization to New York, how you feeling that Drew Gilbert, the Astros top prospect, included in the trade for Justin Verlander?